Oh yeah, for sure. When we played, it was easy. We only had John writing positive articles, so we didn't have any.
DeMeco Ryans Wednesday press conference ahead of the Colts game week 1. Let's go. First question is about how much did you use non-Anthony Richardson film to prepare for this Colts game?
As we prepare, right, it's we look at everything. Right? We look at everything. No, Richardson had a sample size of plays, not many. So still a young player in this league, still has a lot ahead of him, right? A lot of ball ahead of him, but we just go off of what we see. That's all we can do. Focus on what we've seen on tape, and try to work from there.
So a couple elements to that. One is there's only so much film out there to prepare specifically for Anthony Richardson. But two, this might come as a shock, but the offense probably isn't all that much different than it was when Gardner Minshew was running the offense. The Colts were a top 5 team in terms of frequency of RPOs, run pass options. And that's something that suits Anthony Richardson's game really well. Gardner Minshew obviously isn't the same athlete that Anthony Richardson is, but he used his legs effectively versus the Texans and others. And a lot of the play calling, even though there's going to be a different flavor to it, I don't necessarily think it has to be all that much different, other than the threat of the designed runs by Anthony Richardson. Okay, good question. Christian Harris is going to be out for the first few weeks. What have you seen from Jake Hansen and Henry To'oTo'o, and what has the influence of Azeez Al-Shire been on them?
And not having Christian is tough. Christian really, man, he took a jump as the year went on last year. Was really excited about his growth, and he was in a really great spot for us. So it hurts not having him with the young guys who are behind him, right? Henry, Jake, Delshawn, all those guys have to step up and just do their part, right? They don't have to be Christian. They just have to do what they're supposed to do, play our style of football, and they'll be just fine.
Okay, Henry To'oTo'o, going to get a lot of playing time, and he is way sleeker physically than he was last year. Last year, he looked like a kind of a puffy college kid.
I was a fat ass last year. Okay. I was a fat ass. But I'm more leaner. It's honesty, bro. I'm honest.
Like J.J. Watt did in his rookie year. J.J. had baby fat. He didn't look like the chiseled specimen that he would become. Henry To'oTo'o looks sleeker physically, and I think he looks sleeker athletically. And if you go back to that first Colts game last year, that first QB draw, I think Henry To'oTo'o was a little late to recognize QB draw. 1 or 2 steps might have made a huge difference on that play and held it to a 5-yard gain or so. I think he's a different guy this year. Henry To'oTo'o this year has a much better chance of stopping that play, as does Azeez Al-Shire versus Denzel Perryman, some of the other replacements and differences. So I'm optimistic that Henry To'oTo'o is going to be a better player this year and look more like the guy we saw in college. I thought last year it looked like he was just a little bit indecisive and different than the dude that I saw play at Alabama. So far, it's been a big improvement so far. Next question was something along the lines of, what are you hoping to see? Are you excited to see Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson out there together? And Will Anderson, for those of you who didn't see, out there practicing today, expected to play in the game on Sunday.
Yeah, with the ends, with Danielle and Will, right? I mean, what excites me is their potential to wreak havoc, right, in any passing situations, right? Their ability to disrupt the pocket, to disrupt the quarterback, like that's what excites me. And if we want to play really good on defense, right, when they're passing the football, those two guys have to impact the game for us, right? And if they show up and impact the game, it'll be easier for our guys on the back end.
And to take it back to that Colts game last year, the second QB touchdown by Anthony Richardson was partly a result of Will Anderson, young, amped up defensive end, not keeping contain on that play. He bit hard on the play fake, and it was hustling his butt off, but he was hustling his butt off in 180 degrees the wrong direction. I think that's going to be different. Will got burned by that a couple times in the first half of the season and got a lot better at nailing down the responsibilities in the second half of the season. With an entire offseason, I feel very, very good about Will Anderson there. Next question, I think Brandon Scott asked about the importance of setting the tone early in the game and how important that is to winning the game.
Part of it is setting the tone, but it's also about how you finish. Right, and that's the most important thing. Like everybody says you want to jump out to a fast start, right? That is important. We want to jump out to a fast start, but I'm harping on with our guys. It's all about how we finish, right? That's how That's how you win these games, right? He may throw some things at us we haven't seen, right? Same thing for them. There was a lot of unknowns, right, in the first game. So it's just about surviving those unknowns and then being able to finish in the fourth quarter.
We talk about setting the tone. Go back to that Colts game in Week 18, and obviously the Texans set the tone emphatically with a touchdown on the first play that they were on offense. But I thought that, man, there was some grit by the wide receivers and the tight ends in the run after catch. Nico and Dalton Schultz specifically, they trucked some dudes on the sideline. They were at a different level that day. I think there was bad blood already between the Texans and the Colts. These specific teams, we don't even have to talk about historically. And then I think the offseason of a polite smack talk at first, which almost seemed like it elevated between Zaire Franklin and CJ Stroud. I think there's bad blood in a good way between these two teams. Next question, as you guys know, they're hard to hear. Something about the culture and how Stefon Diggs fits into the culture.
And with our captain vote,
Oh, okay. So it was Stefon Diggs being voted a captain, culture, et cetera, et cetera.
I'm excited about, who our guys pick. I feel like the guys know, right? That's that captain decision. I'm excited about it because it's not my vote. It's not my decision, right? It's the men in the locker room who are around each other, who work together on the field and truly get to know each other. And that's who they feel like our leaders are. And, it says a lot about all 7 men who were selected, like the impact that they have on our team, the impact that they have on all the players, young and veteran, right?
I think as a coach, one of the things you're looking for when the players vote for the captains is, man, you hope you have the kind of team that's not like a junior high student council election where the class president is also the most popular kid, but maybe not the most qualified kid. I think that the Texans look like a good, more adult-themed selection of captains, and it's not a surprise if you've been following Texans training camp that Stefon Diggs is a captain. I don't think if you're trying to win some online war against Bills fans or anything, look, Stefon Diggs was a captain when he was in Buffalo. The thing about player leadership, a lot of it really matters most in A, do you have the right guys, and B, how much does the coach actually allow those guys to genuinely lead, to be mentors to the younger players? Because football is a sport that's kind of set up to make it difficult for players to be the actual leaders because players aren't making decisions on the field nearly as much as they might be in other sports. Next question was about the Davis Mills contract extension. Davis Mills somewhat unexpectedly signed a contract for a 1-year extension worth up to $5 million.
Extending Davis is something that he earned, right? Davis had a really great training camp. You saw big-time improvement from last year to this year. Thought he handled camp really well, playing some of his best ball in training camp. He went out and proved it, and it's snaps that he was able to get in the preseason. So everything Davis has gotten, he's earned, and he's done a really great job for us.
I actually did a short video about the Mills contract extension. You can click on it at the end of this video. But I do think that this was a very good deal for the Texans. I think they feel good about their backup quarterback, and it's not so easy to find a backup quarterback that you feel good about. I also think that, man, locking him in for 1 year where whether you agree with it or not or think it should be out there or not, there's a really good chance Davis Mills could have gotten a much better contract than just 1 year up to $5 million if he had just gone to free agency in 2025. It does also open up the option for the Texans, if they wanted to trade him this next offseason. Yeah, it would be highly unlikely that they traded him during the season, although sometimes these Godfather deals show up out of nowhere. But the security of having a backup quarterback for these next 2 seasons where the Texans are very much in a Super Bowl window, I'm very happy with this. And impressed that Davis probably took the safer route and taking a bird in the hand right now versus the potential payday at the end of the year. But he also does get an extra year to really get comfortable in this system and perhaps get a chance sometime over the next 2 years to come in for a few games and put his best work out there and maybe set himself up for something greater than just being a backup quarterback. It makes a lot of sense for both parties. So big game this week. Let's do this thing. You can check out my CJ Stroud reaction video at some point. Everybody have a good one.